Welcome to the third video of the price, interest rate and exchange rate in equilibrium. Today we will discuss the international Fisher effect. The international Fisher effect states that an expected change in the current exchange rate between any two currencies is approximately equivalent to the difference between the two countries' nominal interest rate for that time. What does it mean? For a short recap, we know from the Fisher effect that the real interest rate is the same in all countries and that a change in the nominal interest rate is therefore driven by the change in expected inflation. When the change in the spot rate in any two current countries is approximately equivalent to the difference between the two countries' nominal interest rate for that time, it is also equivalent to the change in the expected inflation. The expected spot rate is calculated by the formula in the blue box. S1 represents the expected spot rate equal to the current spot rate S0 times 1 plus the nominal interest rate of the dollar divided by 1 plus the nominal interest rate of the euro. The change in the spot rate is calculated as follows. The future spot rate minus the current spot rate divided by the current spot rate, which is equivalent to the change in the nominal interest rate. To put this into an example, if the dollar's country's current interest rate is 4% and the euro's country's interest rate is 5%, the euro's country's currency should change in an amount equal to the difference in the interest rate between the two countries, which means it has to depreciate roughly 1% compared to the dollar's country's currency. Let's assume the spot rate for the euro is 1.24 euros. Applying the formula, we can see that the future spot rate will be 1.24 euro. Applying the second formula to calculate the change in the spot rate, which should be equal to the change in nominal interest rate, we can see that the euro spot rate depreciated by 1% equivalent to the change in the inflation. The rationale for the international Fisher effect is that a country with a higher interest rate will also tend to have a higher inflation rate. This increased amount of inflation should cause a currency in the country with a high interest rate to depreciate against a country with a lower interest rate. As the real interest rate tend to be the same across countries, a country with a higher inflation has a tendency for a higher nominal interest rate. It then becomes expensive to borrow money in that country and people borrow in other countries. The request for foreign currencies is increasing and demand for the local currency is decreasing, which will drop the inflation and the nominal interest rate. This was the international Fisher effect.